Hey, Brandon here from Poindexter with another video on our startup journey. And this is week 2 in the series, and we don't have a end date, at least at this point, so we're just going to keep doing them until we build $1 billion business. And then you will have the roadmap that you need to follow along and do the same for yourself. That's the goal. So this week, though, not much to report. It was a pretty low-key week, not much going on. We held meetings with potential partners and potential customers, but that's nothing out of the ordinary. I try and at least, as part of my 5 daily tasks from the last video that I talked about, one of those things is reaching out to 10 new people a day or 10 new organizations a day, and trying to get at least 2 meetings on the books a day to progress what we're doing and meet with people that are either going to be potential partners or distribution outlets or something that can help get us out there more. And so we had meetings, which again wasn't out of the ordinary. Working on a lot of stuff behind the scenes. So we're about to launch a few things, and they aren't out in the public sphere yet. So mostly work that's taking place in the dark. And so overall, it was pretty quiet. And I think those are the weeks, or these are the types of weeks that are pretty common overall. Not a lot happened, and we feel that we're moving forward, but ultimately no validation from the outside world on what it is we're doing, or necessarily the things that we're working on right now, whether those are the right things or not. We think they're the right things, which is obviously why we're doing it, but sometimes it's when it's quiet and you don't have that validation, a lot of negative thoughts can creep in, and you can start to question why you're doing things, or whether it's worth it, or maybe people are going to hate it. I mean, there's a lot of the battle, at least, is mental and internal, at least as far as our experience. And just know that you're not the only one, and maybe I'm the only one, right? So, but if you're watching this, then know that you're not the only one if you resonate with that. And if both of us are feeling that way, then there's probably a lot of other people that are feeling the exact same way. So it's just one of those things we got to work through, and just again having that list of 5 things you do each day, and then completing those tasks and considering it a win if you do so. I think really helps focus you on the short term and make sure that you don't let that longer term, questioning of what it is you're doing really start to affect you. You just stay focused instead. So it's been helping me, and I think things are going well. So quiet week though, nonetheless. So what we learned this week, we actually sent out a customer survey to all of our paying customers that are current at the moment, and we asked them really to identify what value really they got from Poindexter or from our product. And it was a little bit surprising, I guess, in the sense that I read a lot of startup related to anything for the most part, and there's a lot of talk about you build something useful, you get it out there, and you find people are using it like in a way different way than you even imagined, and it changes your perspective, right, on everything you're doing. It wasn't that way for us at all. People are using the product almost exactly like we thought they were going to be using it. And, not to say that that's any sort of validation for what we're doing. It's a very small sample size, but, it's not like you're going to find that magic bullet in finding that one way that, somebody's using it that just changes everything, right? So we're just keeping with the plan ultimately, and moving forward. So that was an interesting. I don't know. I kind of thought that there might be something at least in there that you never know, that somebody's using it in a way that, oh wow, we didn't even think of that, and that would have been kind of cool. But I guess this is just full steam ahead as we are going right now, and we're just going to keep. We have a small team and only so many resources, so we have to prioritize exactly what we build, and I think we have a good idea based on the feedback on how we're going to move forward. So talking to your customers is a great way to definitely refocus you, and not try and go off into outer space as far as thinking about ways that people are potentially using the product. When you get in front of people and you ask them, and do so in a, actually, I'm going to recommend a book. So I'm reading a book called Hacking Growth right now by Ellis. It's a really great read, and especially as far as just how you develop your product and how it interfaces with customers. It's just it changes your perspective at least a little bit, because it's just I don't know. It's just some common sense that it's like, wow, like we oftentimes I think make things out to be a little more complicated than they should be, and sometimes it's just as easy as asking customers. But in that book, though, they have these questions that are outlined for essentially each phase of the customer journey, from all the way from acquisition through retention through activation. So I know I didn't go through that in the right steps, but ultimately you get what I'm saying. So throughout the entire customer journey through maturity, essentially, and they have steps that you can take along the way to make sure you're developing the right things, or to make sure that you have product market fit. And so they have some really great questions in there for asking your paid customers, ultimately, what is it we should be doing, or what is it we do for you that maybe we're not considering. And so that's the feedback that we got. So that was fun. As far as the problem we overcame, though, the problem we overcame was probably just this week. It was slow, and kind of uneventful overall. And again, it's like one of those things where negative thoughts can creep in, and I think that's, again, one of the biggest battles we face is our own thoughts as entrepreneurs, as startup founders, whatever you want to call it. We are our own worst enemy, and fighting that enemy is very difficult to do because it's just you, right? And you can feel alone, definitely at times, but I think it's about, when those thoughts creep in, again, refocusing yourself. So as long as you can refocus yourself on productive things and not linger and think about those negative thoughts, it helps limit it. And by the time you look back at the week, you realize you got a lot done, and you feel accomplished. You feel better. It's not to say that it's going to be enjoyable or easy working through it, but that's been what's working for me, at least. So that is what it is. And then finally, something we succeeded at. So one thing we did, and I will, I guess, say this with a word of caution. Looks like we locked down another partnership, which is cool. We are hoping this will be a good sales channel for us. They work with a lot of accelerators, so as far as being a distribution outlet, it seems promising. But coming back to what we talked about last week, opportunities are great. It's a good thing. It seems cool. But until, we just still have to go out there and do everything perfectly, or at least attempt to do everything as perfectly as we can. We have to execute every day and keep moving the ball forward. We can't let this, we can't rest on our laurels and stop moving forward just because we feel like we have a pretty cool partnership lined up, right? So we're recognizing it for what it is. It's an opportunity. Hopefully it goes well. We're going to do everything we can to make it go well. And in the meantime, we're also going to be moving forward with everything else we're doing. So that's our week. I hope in some way it was helpful to some of you out there. And feel free to leave some comments. I'd be happy to respond to them. But other than that, have a great weekend, everyone, and I'll see you next week.